do you cope? Medication, hobbies, etc. Yes. I'm not quite sure on the difference myself. I've never really dived deep into the ADD thing because I tried not to sort of let it define me in a way. Obviously studying something that you suffer from is good because you get a sense of understanding of how to navigate it. But I know myself. I know how I think. I know how I'm able to get things done. So I have developed a lot of methods to do so. There is a method, I will say, that's kind of antithetical to that, is I did gain an understanding of ADD recently that actually helped me to understand how I undergo things. So I'm sure a lot of people who watch regularly know that I overwork myself. I overschedule myself. I'm constantly overwhelmed by the things that I have to do, and which means a lot of stuff probably falls to the wayside as a result. Not probably. I know that it does. So there is a method which wasn't specifically developed for ADD, but has sort of been co-opted by the ADD community, I guess, because it sort of addresses ADD problems without realizing that it's doing it. It's called Lichtenbergianism. There's a book about it, but the idea is it's structured procrastination. The idea is somebody with an ADD brain has a problem with the reward center. ADD is a bit of a misnomer now. I think people think it's just kind of like, oh, they're hyper and they can't pay attention. There's a lot of little nuances about it that make it interesting and strange. So there's a problem with the reward center in the brain, in that setting out to achieve something and then achieving it by direct means doesn't always and frequently doesn't ever trigger a reward response like a normal person. And I can say that because I have ADD. So the idea of structured procrastination is you set out to do something that has a priority that's very high. So then, you then set out to do something that has a priority that's slightly lower than the first thing that you set up. So you have something that's more important to do, and then you have something that's slightly less important to do, right? So the idea is you procrastinate on the very important thing to do this other thing. And the thing is, ADHD brains do that naturally, getting distracted, etc., right? So the thing that you're supposed to be doing ends up getting neglected for this other thing. And then you really hyper-focus on this other thing naturally. But you can use that. You can trick your brain into... You can do that with a sense of awareness, and it doesn't change anything. Your brain's just like, this is more important and this isn't, therefore I'm going to go and focus on this thing. And then that sets off reward centers in the brain. And you basically keep flip-flopping back and forth between things that you're procrastinating on in order to get things done. So I didn't have a sense of understanding that laser-focused. What I did was just overwhelmed myself with work. I just started projects all the time. And so naturally, the important projects fell to the wayside, and I would get a bunch of other shit done. So that's structured procrastination that you can do if you are an ADD sufferer. And there's a book on it. It's just called Lichtenbergianism, and you can buy it at a bookstore. I think you can buy an ebook version of it. There's a lot more to it too. There's and I can wastebook. So this is a shitty little notebook that I carry everywhere. Literally everywhere. I never let this thing leave my side. ADD brains wander all the time. But the thing is, when they wander, there's a level of importance that they put on thoughts, and there's a burden that the ADD brain has where it has to, if it wanders and it has a thought, it feels the pressure to hang on to that thought, and they're all important. Every thought is important. So it's like, okay, I wandered for a second, and that's the thought, and then this is just mine. I'm going to keep it forever, and I have to hold it. So by the end of the day, your brain's just fucking overwhelmed with garbage. And you're like, oh, I forgot. Oh, I got to do this, and I got to do that. And, remember, I thought of that. And the wastebook. You have a thought, your mind wanders, you write it down. It doesn't matter what it is. It literally doesn't matter. There's a song I listened to. Oh, I like that riff. I like the riff in that song. Somebody told me to watch a movie. Watch this movie. The tree had a cool color. Oh, this tree here had a cool color. You write it all down, because then it releases the burden of your mind to keep it, and then you can be more present. It's another ADD thing. It's very, extremely helpful. There's twofold, right? Sometimes you do have important thoughts and really good ideas, and so it's all there. The other thing is, it weeds out the junk. If you hang on to a thought that's no significance and is stupid, your brain will naturally just hang on to it. But if you write it down, you can let it go. And then sometimes you look back on those stupid thoughts and you're like, oh, that was kind of cool. Like, it's a neat little thought. It's called a wastebook. Super easy practice. There's another productivity practice called getting things done that has a similar approach, where there's an inbox. But it has to do specifically with to-do list stuff. If you think of things that you have to do throughout the day, you throw them in the inbox. And then every week, at the beginning of the week, you go through the inbox and you cull it and you organize each thing that you have to do by, if you can do it right now, if it's a project, or you have to delegate it. And every week you go through that cycle. You just like, you basically diarrhea out stuff that you remember that you have to do. And then at the beginning of the week, you organize it by, I don't want to say priority, but like how you would get those done. Getting things done. That's what that method's called. You can find a 15-minute version for free on the internet, but there is a book. Anyway, that was a huge tangent and an example of ADHD, because I'm supposed to be doing these super chats so I can get food and go home to my wife. And I just went on this incredible hyper-focused rant about ADHD. So there we go. All right.